Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Sorry about that. I was having technical difficulties as always. Welcome back, beautiful people. It's glad to see you again. I have come back from the motherland, and unfortunately, I came back with another gift from the motherland besides what I bought for the gifts that I bought for my family. So I'm a little bit darker tonight, a darker hue, and makeup doesn't fix that. So, anyways, I'm excited to have on a guest Tyrell Starks tonight. So it's going to be a really exciting show. Uh, a lot of people have been asking me about it. My patients come in and say, hey, I'm here. Obviously, I want to work on myself. So let's work on ourselves tonight. We will go to our promo. Oh, no. All right, so I got a text message that my lights are dark. So I don't know what's going on. I guess let me try to get cute. Put a little light up in here. Am I light enough now? Am I still dark? Am I still dark? Let me know. Am I still too dark? People are like, "Oh, Doc, you're kind of dark tonight." I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to be pretty. Anyways, so hopefully my guest tonight is pretty bright enough. So tonight we're going to be talking about actually specifically more than likely one particular topic of destructive behaviors in your relationship because there's a slew, right? Because when we have like all these different negative things, the first one being escalation, which stands out the most to me. And Tyrell, he's a life coach. I'm going to let him come on and tell you more about him because I don't want to screw it up. He does some pretty amazing things. Let me pull it up on the screen. Let me pull up this guy because this guy. So I came across Tyrell Starks on social media, like most of us do with anything. And I believe in his message. I think his message is fantastic. The hashtag Let's Heal. I've seen some of his excerpts. I've talked to this brother, and I think he is doing phenomenal work to heal others. And, hey, anything that helps us be better people are the people that I want to have on the show to talk. So we're gonna have him on in a second. But I mean, so I got a text message last night about the basketball player who was dating the trans woman, and people's response was so mixed. It was so mixed, and it's crazy because in 2018, you would think people would mind their own business, or in that people are in the industry of minding their own business. But as we know, social media uh, will can sometimes sabotage your career. So this gentleman apparently is was dating a or with a trans woman, and the trans woman has decided to come forward about the crew apparently that threatened her life, and she states that her coming forward really is not about exposing him, but more so about putting on blast uh, what they did. First off, your your name is Industry Ho. That's kind of like what you write about, or your book, or your content is about being an industry hoe. You lose a little bit of credibility in terms of kind of like your intent. Your intent obviously doesn't sound correct because apparently she has also chosen to come forward about other men. So I mean, I'm not gonna pull it up because that's not a good look. I want to pull it up, but that's probably not a good look. So we're gonna go straight to Tyrell, and we'll be talking about this more. Hey guys, don't forget. I mean, either way, even if I'm dark, I can still see you. You'll be bright, brighter than a diamond. You can FaceTime in your questions. You can go to Google Hangouts. You can call in your questions, and you'll be on the show. So yeah, so definitely check that out. And before I keep on rambling, I'm gonna bring on Tyrell. Tyrell.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Tyrell. I'm dark, so I don't know what's going on. You're gonna have to excuse me. I don't know why I'm so dark. People are sending messages to me. Doc, no lights tonight. I guess I'm keeping it like bedtime stories. So, Tyrell, thank you for being on and listening to my rambling. You hopefully heard some things that I said about you, but I'm going to let you introduce yourself to people and the context of what the work that you do so they can understand our dialogue.
All right, so I'm Tyrell Starks. I like to call myself a normal guy. My background is in wellness. I was actually a personal trainer, aerobic instructor for years, and I'm still certified, still do that. And I'm all about wellness. And I tackled the physical part of wellness, and in my process of tackling the physical part, I began to think more about the mental wellness because a lot of times the physical kind of reflects the mental. Like they say, mind over matter, and that's basically where things began. So that's kind of where I came up with the concept of let's heal. To take it even further back from that, healing. Everybody goes through healing from something or someone. Let's is inclusive, so I don't like to leave anybody behind in that journey to healing, and I don't want anybody to feel like they have to be left behind. So that's kind of where Let's Heal came from. I started it as a open letter, an anonymous open letter concept. Allowing people to go into a situation and dig into their feelings based on a person that they interacted with or a situation that they interacted with, and write an open letter expressing how you felt about that situation, how that person made you feel about the situation, and the whole situation altogether, whatever the situation may be. And at the end of the letter, you kind of forgive it. You never forget it, but you definitely need to forgive it in order to begin that process of heal. And I think that's where a lot of people disconnect with healing, because people cross those lines of forgiving and forgetting. You never forget, but you should definitely move on and forgive, because if you don't forgive a person or a situation for the rest of your life, that person or situation will have some kind of tie to you mentally. So Let's Heal is basically somewhere where I wanted people to come and be able to talk about any situation they've been in that they needed healing from or that they were healing from.
Okay. So I think this is. I hope this is better. So I had you on solo while I try to tackle this light issue.
Yeah.
My camera, my first key grip is off work today, so I'm left to do a
Okay.
one man show.
Okay.
So yes, one of the things that you talked about is journaling and how significant journaling is in writing a letter or open letter that you had the person do. So so that people are clear, I'm a licensed mental health practitioner, and you do life coaching from a very holistic standpoint. You tackle
Correct.
how does that work? Tell people, explain to people, because I think sometimes I get calls and I'm like, hey doc, I'm looking for a life coach, and I'm like, I'm not a life coach. And if you do come to see me, you will get one of those nice little things in this manual here called the DSM-5 or diagnosis, a code that will follow you. Can you explain to people how life coaching works and what's the difference?
Well, life coaching, I'm actually going through the process of completing the life coaching certification. I went and got a positive psychology certification. And, the life coaching part of it is basically taking somebody to the point of being transparent with themselves and, looking at the situation that they are in currently and being realistic with themselves and looking how they got there, because everything that happens to us we have called to us in one way or another, whether it be karma, whether it be positive energy. It's the law of attraction. We all know about the law of attraction. And I basically, sit down with people and I talk to people, and it allows them to be transparent with themselves. And I think, I've talked to people before, and I told them, I said, a lot of people like to be lied to. And in order to, please somebody, you have to learn how to be the best liar. And I think back to, when you're talking to children, children are brutally honest, but never on purpose. But it's what you need to hear. You need that honesty. You need that brutal truth that may hurt your feelings a little bit. And if it hurts your feelings, there's a little bit of truth to that. So basically, life coaching basically is almost like a little child, brutally honest, and going to tell you what you need to hear, not hang on what you want to hear. Because a lot of times we hear what we want to hear through life, but I guess you'll come to, counselors or people like me who are tell me, what's going on, so we can sit down and you can find out and tell yourself what you need to hear.
Right, right. Elizabeth says, yes, law of attraction is real. Speak it into existence. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah, so, I mean, it's a very
So yeah, I mean,
honest part of what we
with
do.
the
Go ahead.
it's complete honesty with yourself. Like even in the job that I have right now, or even talking to other people, I usually start off with three things: be honest with yourself first, then honest with the situation, and then honest and to everybody else. And the same thing goes with respect. Respect yourself first, respect the situation, and then respect others. So, a lot of people have that backwards. It's like respect the other people, respect the situation, and then I fit in there somewhere. Respecting yourself first doesn't necessarily make you selfish. It actually puts you in a place of vulnerability and knowing what you truly can give to a person or a situation. If you don't have the emotion or the energy to give out to anybody else, or you feel like if you give it to somebody else, you're not going to get it back, why are you giving it in the first place? And in order to know if you have it or not, is you have to be honest with yourself first.
Right, right. And that leads into our bigger topic is destructive relationship patterns. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I When I sat down and I crafted up the topic, I came up with a whole cadre of subtopics about patterns in relationships that are destructive. So I said, Wesley, if you do this tonight, you can't do this in 45 minutes, 30 minutes. It's not going to happen. So I said, you know
Right.
what? Come up with one that really, really, really stands out, and I'm going to put it on the screen. And that's tit for tat. The consistently up in the ante. We all argue, Tyrell. I mean, everybody knows. We all argue. I mean, it's a part of a relationship. I actually even think disagreements and conversations about it are healthy. It's when we have to go tit for tat. So that consistently throwing negative comments about one another in an argument.
Right. Right.
So
Right.
when you
Right.
say, talk about like what you just said about knowing yourself, some people need to learn that this is a nasty thing that I can do, so that they can tell
Right.
either a potential partner, say, you know what, when I get backed into a corner, the way I come out is to come out fighting, and I fight with my mouth. I know a lot of girls who will tell you I fight with my mouth.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing with tit for tat is, in relationships, and I'm learning that even though nothing is constant but change, while you're changing, you have to communicate those things. And the thing about relationship, in order for it to not go tit for tat, because a lot of times, especially in the beginning, you really don't know this person, they don't know you. So your whole job in when you're meeting somebody is protect my heart, protect my feelings. I'm only gonna give you so much, And if I ever feel like you're attacking those, I'm going to figure out what your weaknesses are so that I can attack them, or at least that's how I am. But I had to learn it about myself. Like, I'm the kind of person, I don't get mad, I get even. So I'm going to
Mm.
always figure out what your weaknesses are
Right.
in order for me to have those kind of in the back of my mind. Like, if you ever go there with me, I, I've been figuring you out since day one, so we can go tit for tat. So in an effort for me to avoid that tit for tat, I usually live by, and it applies to every relationship, whether it's family, whether it's romantic, whether it's work, and that's communication, consideration, and consistency for me.
Hmm.
And that usually works if you look at those three subjects, you know, with an open mind and an open heart. I posted something the other day on social media about, you know, if I change my mind, you may possibly still have a chance. But if I change my heart, you're done. And basically, that's, you know, the communication. It's like if we are able to sit down and have an adult conversation, and if there is a disagreement and we still don't agree, we can agree to disagree. But then after we agree to disagree, we also have to communicate on how do we get past this, or can we get past this? And that's the reality of the situation, so that it doesn't become tit for tat. And I think a lot of people, they stop at the we agree to disagree. Okay, so how did you plan to move past that? Because if you didn't move past it or talk about moving past that, then in the back of your mind, you're still gonna keep that in there. We had this disagreement 6 months ago, and we agreed to disagree at the time, but now that we're back in another heated argument or disagreement, I
Hmm.
remember that conversation from 6 months ago, and now it becomes tit for tat. Well, you know, 6 months ago you said that means you didn't complete the communication step in your
Right.
relationship,
Right.
and you know, so
Ex- so one of I mean, everything you said makes complete sense, and I'm sure everybody watching this, Chuck Collins, Jesse, Salia, Rando, Derek, I'm sure everybody watching this on Facebook, YouTube, and Periscope knows that. So let's delve a
yeah,
little bit deeper, because that's why I say, you know what, Tyrell is going to be a perfect person to speak about this. You know, because this comes from somewhere. I mean, we all
yeah,
just didn't wake up and choose to
yeah,
be nasty with our mouth. It came from somewhere.
yeah.
You talk to me about what you've seen in your clients and the people that you help, about what's the source of this and how we get to the source. Remember it if that's what the work you do.
To be completely honest about the source,
Hmm.
a lot of time the sources start at childhood, from what
Mm-hmm.
I've seen. You know, a lot of times it's a disconnect from the person or persons who raised the child, or the lack of the person or persons who raised that child.
Hmm.
And a lot of people don't like to do that. I will say in the black community, the mother is sacred. So it's like you can never go into a relationship. And I just, you know, posted something about on my podcast about, is this baggage even mine?
Hmm.
Because a lot of times we are all attached to things that was told to us by a parent. You know, a lot of times our parents will protect us from things by telling us, I've been through this, so you don't go through it. You know, I've been through abusive relationships, so you don't go through that. This is what it looks like. But it doesn't always look the same. It doesn't
Right.
always start the same. It doesn't always end the same. It doesn't always interact with you the exact same way that it was told to you. So when we go back to the source, the root of the problem is, you know, just like any root, it's like the foundation of a house. When you have children, your job as a parent is to build a strong foundation for that child to stand on.
Mm.
It is never your job to maintain the rest of that child for the rest of that child's life. You know, a kid is just like a house, and it has to have a strong foundation. So if you're mixing in the good ingredients or the best ingredients for it to have a strong foundation, no matter what the structure of this child is going to be, you know that you've done everything that you could to mix in a strong foundation for your child. But if your foundation is spotty and it's, you know, full of issues and hurt yourself,
Hmm. Hmm.
then guess what? That's what the foundation of that child is going to be: hurt, disconnect, abandonment, disapproval. Those things that you have to confront before you put them into somebody else. Because even if you don't say it directly to your child or directly to somebody that you're raising, they're going to feel that. They're going to see
Right.
it. They're going to respond to it the way that you react to certain things. And then it's crazy when you sit back and you see people or you meet people and then you meet their caregivers or the person who raised them and they realize they act the same
Yeah.
way.
You know what? I mean, it's making a lot of people think. Kenneth says, yep, it's family of origin. You learn from your kinfolk. And you got people thinking, because I know some people are like, well, Doc, hurt people hurt people. It's so easy to go back to that first relationship that didn't work, where you fell head over heels in love. It happened to me. You fall head over heels in love. All that love is dashed out the door. That trust, he or
Yeah.
she chooses like, yo,
Yeah.
you're not the one. And we all know that in relationships, 50% or more of people, men, women who choose to shack up for, just say what it is, who choose to shack up, 50% of those people will not marry one another. More than likely, they're going to separate and they're going to go their separate ways. Um, and that number may be even greater. So people easily pinpoint that first relationship that didn't work, that trust that was
Right.
given that didn't work. However, you're
Right.
saying it goes back even further. It's kind of
Oh,
like
definitely.
they're the fruit of a tree, kind of.
Definitely. Definitely. I mean, because when you go back to the roots or the family, that sets the standards for what you're going to deal with. And then, yes, like I said before, nothing is constant but change. And as you
Hmm.
get older, either those roots will get stronger because you're changing for the positive, or those roots will begin to get weaker. And when you start going backwards, like we all have done that. Hell, I did it in my first relationship. It was like, oh, this was a bad relationship. This person was bad. But then I had to, again, look at myself because I was a part of that situation
Hmm.
and figure out what I contributed to that and why I contributed it to the situation. We all go, and like I said before, we all go into every situation protected because that's what we're learned. I don't think many people are taught to not protect their own asset, so to speak. Protect
Hmm.
your heart. Your heart is an asset. Your mind is an asset to you. So you are taught to protect that. All mean it all means necessary.
Right,
Protect it.
right.
Because at the end of the day, you're the one who has to go back and lick those wounds and repair from what needs to be healed. But you need to, as you get older, you're supposed to be paying attention. Everything happens for a reason. Everything is a lesson, good or bad. And when you go back and you start looking at your family, you realize that these same lessons have been being taught over and over again. Like they say, the game stays the same.
Right.
And you go back, and that's why your parents, you're able to have those conversations with your parents. But then you should be able to, talk to your parents or talk to to your caregivers and say, my situation may look like this, but this game, it changed somewhere. It's not the exact same game. So
Hmm.
I'm not going to allow you to throw this game or the responsibility only on that other person. The hardest thing to do in any situation, whether it be, talking to a family member about what may have gone on in the past or talking about a relationship, is to flip that mirror and look at yourself in that situation.
You know, I hope some of y'all are listening because you were just home with your folks for Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
sitting
Yes.
around at the table at Thanksgiving,
Yeah.
looking at Nana, listen to her talk about Grandpa when he was alive and he gone on. Or listening to mom talk about, dad, what he didn't do or what she didn't do. And you were thinking to yourself, this is my family and I love my family. Thank God Thanksgiving is over and we're having this
Yeah.
conversation about family, because I don't want nasty text messages from
Right.
friends
Because
and my
they're
own
coming.
family. Right. Who is like, Wesley, you are airing your own family or other families' dirty laundry. So people gonna go home looking and saying, you know what, mom, the things you told me when I was a kid, they hurt me more than they've helped me. Is that a proper thing to say if we're going and talking about it in that way?
If you're going to say that, you need to be prepared to have the transparent conversation with your parent or whoever that person may be whose baggage that is. First, you need to look at yourself because you can never go and blame somebody for something that belongs to you. You have to be able to pick and choose which one of these bags is really truly mine. Which one of this, what part of this hurt is mine. But when you go and you have a conversation and you say, what you did to me hurt me, most people are going to say, well, what did I do? And at that point, you have to be honest. You have to be transparent. And I say that because my mom was a young mom. So we grew up together.
Right.
And I
Okay.
can't say a lot of stuff she did hurt me. But there was a point in my adult life where I had to go back and sit down and talk to my mother and be transparent with her from one adult to another. And that's where the respect comes in because you can have a conversation with somebody and still respect them. And that's why we have a strong respect for each other as adults. I respect my mother as my mother. And I guess that leads me to another podcast that I posted. Your sons are not your husbands, So they're not supposed to be there to be your caregiver when everything turns around. You're supposed to be able to live your life, have a conversation respectfully as a mother and child, and still move forward as a mother and child because you respect each other on a different level.
Right.
You're not gonna go home and get a whooping from your mom if you have a conversation with her. You're an adult. So why not respect each other as adults? And that's where if you have that, if you go to somebody, you say that, I can't say go into it with a bunch of details or go into it with a huge story, but be able to go into it and be transparent about your feelings and ready to move forward positively. Because if you
Okay.
go into it and you just say, you hurt me, I don't know really what you did, but you hurt me. That leaves a whole nother thing. Now it builds animosity.
So, Tyrell, we're gonna move it on past that because I was
Okay.
thinking while I'm sitting
Okay.
here. I was one of those kids, and my mom is watching the show. Hey, mom. I was
My
one of
mom
those
is too. Hey,
kids.
mom.
If you said something to me, I can remember. I'm not even gonna call her name. She's like, "Ooh, Wesley, your breath stank," and I was like, "Well, your head is bald," and she like knocked me in my mouth. As kids, we continuously up the ante. If you say
Yeah.
something about me, I got something else to say better. And
Right.
we continuously do that as a defense mechanism. So, how do you separate that though from this baggage that you got from your parents versus that vicarious shit that happened to you as a kid that I can't deal with as a therapist? Talk to me.
See, but what you just did exactly what we're talking about. When she said one thing, instead of you saying you hurt my feelings because you didn't know how to say it, you hurt my feelings as a kid, you went tit for tat.
Right, right.
It was let me hurt you before you hurt me. Even though you're my parent, and even as a kid, you they're brutally honest, like I said before, and children as they get older, that is, I don't know why it's like a unspoken defense mechanism to go tit for tat. Whether you're an adult, whether you are an adolescent, it's tit for tat. And then as you get older, you have to learn how to break that cycle as an adult. I mean, we all have to get to that point of thinking outside the box.
Right.
But then, I mean, I guess that's why you meet people and you're like, when I have met some people, I can speak from personal experience, and I meet them and I'm like, you're still stuck at 15, 16, 18.
Right, right. We
You
do
know,
need to tell people that you get stuck sometimes in that
yeah,
juvenile in those juvenile years. So it's not about being 40 and oh you still act childish. Some people haven't really truly progressed
right,
to a point where they can even have mature conversations.
right. Or even be able to hear mature opinions
Mm,
without feeling attacked. Because nothing, I mean, everybody has an opinion about something. And I also, when I tell people about other people's opinions, people are always going to have something to say about you or for you, whether it's good or
mm,
bad. You take in what you need to take in, you let go of the rest of it, but you can never stop anybody from talking. In order to kind of minimize those from affecting you so much, learn how to tell your own truth. And in order to tell your own truth, you got to be transparent with yourself and learn what your own strengths and weaknesses are. So if you
mm.
can't tell your truth, you're allowing somebody outside of you who may or may not know you to dictate who you really truly are based on their opinions.
Right, right. Huh. Sorry. So I switched cameras. I got cameras all over this studio.
Yeah, I see.
Cause I'm like, oh, I like that camera right here. It's brighter, but then I really don't like that camera right there. It's in my face.
Right.
Uh, sorry for diverting. But yeah, so everybody needs love, though, Tyrell.
Right.
Everybody deserves an opportunity to be in love and to have a mature relationship. How do we help people tackle dealing with this tit for tat? Because it can be hurtful. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been in relationships where I've said some hurtful things, and I've had hurtful things hurled at me that are sometimes unforgivable. And if you don't know your partner, you can't understand why they hurt you so bad. So you're like, fuck this, I'm out. We need to give people solutions. That's the whole goal for today, right? Because
Right.
people know there's problems in their relationship. Obviously, if I'm on, boyfriend or husband number three, or wife number four, there's
Right.
something
There
wrong.
might be some wrong with you. Right.
But
Right. It's
people
not
are
always everybody else, but
right.
it's the consistency. That's how you get there. So I mean, I guess that takes me to my next C. That's how you get to the point of healing. You have to be able to trust that, this person who is really sent to help you, you have to trust that they really got your back the way that you deserve.
Hmm.
Because nobody knows exactly what somebody feels. That's where the communication comes in, and you as a person who is supposed to be there listening have to show consistency. And if you show consistency, like, yes, I see that you're hurting. And a lot of times that's where it comes from. Like when you're consistent and you don't allow that to take you somewhere personal. I mean, like in a lot of situations, we'll have conversations with people and we take it personal when you are supposed to be there listening so that you can show them consistency so that they can build the trust and be able to talk to you. And as they talk to you and open up, they're able to delve into different things about themselves that they didn't even know, or
Hmm.
that they knew that they kind of pushed into the back. Now it's like, okay, I'm at a comfortable place with somebody who's comfortable, who communicates with me and not communicate at me. And now I can be consistent and talk to them all the time because I'm opening up and peeling back layers. Because we all got layers, and nothing is constant but change. Growth, when you really truly love somebody or love something, like a plant, when you're consistent with it, you water it, you feed it, you're there for it, you nurture it. It shows that consistency. That plant has no choice but to grow.
Hmm.
But when you're neglecting it and you're treating it bad, it's gonna die. And that's basically, we're like plants of the earth. If we have that consistency, that love, the appreciation of our existence, we will grow and thrive.
So one thing I was just sitting here thinking about, Will Smith over on YouTube brought up an interesting point. He said I recognize I have that problem with my mom. And so people are, like we said, all around recognizing like, hey, I really truly got baggage that came from me from my kinfolk, like Kenneth said. I have baggage that came from me from experiences from childhood. And you talking about, that solution of tackling that, the three C's, consistent, being consistent, showing consistent love. Now, can people recognize that they don't love themselves?
I think that if you're honest with yourself, but we're all taught that nobody loves us better than we love ourselves.
Right. Right. Exactly.
And to an extent that's true. And I mean, I guess it takes me to um the I was watching another show on Facebook. I'm not gonna put a name out there because they're not paying. I don't want to sponsor anybody. But I was
Okay.
watching another show, and they were talking about addiction, and everybody's addicted to something, and the things that you're addicted to, too much of anything can kill anybody. But when you're addicted to something, you have to figure out why. I mean, I guess I'll use myself as an example. Growing up, I felt like being the oldest child, growing up with a young mother, that I could have used more attention, more love at that time. So I turned to food. And now, as an adult, I know that I'm an emotional eater. So I know that if something's stressing me out, you never can get full when you're upset or bothered or worried or something like that. So everybody has to be able to be transparent with themselves to figure out what their addiction is and why they're addicted to that.
Hmm.
And if you start thinking about those addictions, I mean, because people can be addicted to working out, people can be addicted to food or drugs or anything like that. And yes, being addicted to food, it can kill you. Excuse me. Being addicted to working
Talk
out,
about
it's
it.
supposed to help you, but too much working out, that's why they say you're supposed to have a cheat day and a rest day. Because too much working out can kill you. So figure out what your addiction is and why you're addicted to that. I know my triggers, and that's the thing. You have to figure out what your triggers are and how to control them. Because as long as you are not being transparent with yourself, you will be affected by other people's words.
Right. Right. And one of the things that I found out that have also helped in some ways diffuse like this negative escalation, like when we're in the heat of it, sometimes it can be all you see is red. But I've worked with a lot of my patients and have helped them call a timeout,
Yeah,
time out in the argument where they
yeah,
recognize, you know what, you have said the most hurtful thing. And I mean, I don't even have to go into the list of examples. I'm sure everybody who's watching this has had some insult hurled at them, whether it be from their partner, their husband, their wife, their boyfriend, somebody that they're with for cuffing season, which is why I put that in the hashtag because let's recognize it's cuffing season. It's cold
right,
outside. People just get
right,
with people because it's convenient
exactly.
while the temperature is low. So we have to help again those people figure out like say time out, you've hurt my feelings and this is getting so hurtful, I'm going to either throw something at you, I'm going to punch you, I'm going to cut you, and then that's a whole nother level, which
Right.
is like domestic violence and the whole like. So one of the things like I said is calling like an emotional timeout, and most of my female patients will say, well, doc, you're giving him the okay to mentally check out of the argument. He
Right.
can mentally say, I'm done with this, I need a timeout, and go to his corner and lick his wounds. What do you think about that?
So timeouts is something that I had to learn how to do and accept. Because growing up, I was always like, nope, we're in the heat of it. We're going to solve it now because I ain't going to want to talk about it later.
Right, right.
But I had to learn that that was how I felt. And which leads me to the final C, the consideration. I had to consider somebody else because if I'm arguing with myself, I can take as many timeouts as I want to. I can complete as many arguments as I want to. But since I'm not arguing with myself, I have to consider that other person. If somebody says, let's take a timeout, the next best thing that you can do for the situation is, yeah, let's have a timeout. But let's agree that this situation is not over and that we definitely need to talk about it. And I think that's what happens. A lot of times people will use that timeout as a way of let me walk away from it. And if I stay away long enough, I can sweep it under the rug and then we ain't got to worry about it until next time.
Until next time. Right.
Right. So I feel like, timeouts are definitely needed if it gets too heated. But then, in addition to that timeout, because of the consideration, there needs to be an agreement as to coming back to it, to where I can talk to you and you can talk to me, and both of us can be heard because we all know that if you got two people yelling, nobody's being heard.
Right, right. And not that old, oh, honey, when we're in love, we do
Right,
it.
right.
Let's make the conscious decision together. We're never going to go to bed angry at one another. We'll always deal with it before we go to bed. Famous
And see,
last
and a lot of
words.
times, yeah, and the famous last words, and there's also the famous beginning words of, if you say that you're okay, I'm okay, let's sweep it under the rug and keep moving.
Mm,
That's not solving the problem. So I guess that's where the journaling comes from. And during that time out of walking away, if you have to be honest with yourself about how you felt about the situation, and just so you don't forget, write it down. Or hell, we all have cell phones these days, and everybody's taking notes in their cell
oh
phones.
my
And
gosh,
that's
yes.
usually the first things that they grab when they're leaving is their phone and their keys and maybe a wallet. Like I even say it to myself: keys, wallet, cell phone. Every day when I go everywhere. So if you have a disagreement and you decide to take a break from it, write down, jot down what made you feel this way. What was said, because a lot of times I can't know what you feel about what I said if you don't tell me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right.
So you have to be able to communicate with me and tell me how you felt when I called you bald headed, something like that. I'm just using it as an example, but a lot of times people will, if you hurt somebody, like I said, that's the tit for tat. Let me get you before you get me.
Right.
Let me attack your feelings before you attack me. And then we ain't got to talk about nothing because now we pissed off at each other. So now the next step is we're trying to figure out how to get out of this.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what, Tyrell, we're coming up on our 45 minutes. I try to be
I know.
consistent. That's one of my consistent things I try to be
Yeah.
because people pay attention to this. And so I don't want people thinking like, hey, if I watch this show, I got to be stuck to this for an hour. The good thing is you can
Right.
come back and watch it. It's on YouTube, it's on Periscope, it's on Facebook. Um, how can people get in touch with you and give them this closing argument about how they can help them deal with escalation, up in the ante, and using words as weapons?
All right. So I will close by saying that communication is everything. Learn how to communicate with yourself first. Be transparent with yourself and be open to growing outside of the path. We all have one destination. We have a destination for ourselves, and there's different paths or many paths to get to that destination. So be open to the destination. Be open to the journey through life, because life is going to be just that. Things are going to happen that you can't control. People are going to say things that you can't control, but be open to the journey, learn through the process. That's just some general stuff. I can go real deep. I wasn't trying to go too deep or too long for everybody. How to get in contact with me? I'm on Facebook. It's Tyrell Starks. That's Tyrell Starks. Like John Starks, the basketball player. You can also find me on Instagram at Live Well with Tyrell, or I have a Let's Heal page. If you all are willing to, or looking to write an anonymous open letter. I use no one's name. I talk about no person in specific. I just basically read what you're saying. Um, and then on Twitter, I'm also Live Well with Tyrell, but there's a crazy spelling to it, and I'll have to send you the link, or I'll have a link up there for you to visit the social media. I'm always available. Send me an email, send me a DM. I'm always willing to talk to people who are ready to talk. And it's usually anonymous, and it's very transparent and very honest. I don't know how to sugarcoat what you need to hear by what you want to hear. So that's me.
All right. Thank you, Tyrell. I appreciate it. We're now 46 minutes in.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been amazing. We could go on and on about this topic, guys. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, it is so significant to recognize when you hurl negative comments and interactions between to one another. I mean, I'm not just going to even just go there. I mean, it's all around us. I mean, you look at social media, you look at the memes sometimes, and some of them can be so hurtful. You be like, ooh, But then you be like, "Ooh, I got a good comeback too for my ancillary." So when when he say some really nasty shit, I got something for him. Or when or when she goes like, low, I'm gonna go even lower. It
Right.
ain't helping. It's not helping you get closer to the end goal. And the end goal in all of this is to be happy. And I don't always think that happiness is in somebody else, but being happy with yourself is the biggest part of this. Because if you're happy with yourself, no person throwing insults at you are going to make you come back and say, well, you know what? You is this, you is that. You're going to be like, that's not who I am.
Right.
That's nothing to me.
Right.
So I mean, let's start there. And like I said, Tyrell, one of the things I love about your message is healing because it starts with kinfolk, it starts from childhood, it starts from a whole cadre of just things that added into, and people I think don't always recognize that. Especially, I will say, in some of the work that I do is probably not widely the message. So I love my life coaches. Life coaches bring such a incredible value to helping people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. Thank you for having me today.
All right. Well, you have a good night.
All right, you too.
Okay, guys. I don't know. So thank you all for tuning in. See you next week. Hopefully next week. I'll use my brighter lights. I don't like those lights. They are painful, painful, painful. But I appreciate you choosing to give your comments and everything tonight. Love you guys. Have an amazing week. I hope you had a beautiful Thanksgiving. Add in, send me any text messages about how your Thanksgiving went. Love you. Have a great one.